right, I am back with my second video of the day here because I wanted to do this yesterday, but there was a lot of news going on, and then today there's still news going on, but I do not want to avoid talking about the new Marvel's Avengers news, which was not really what the fan base was hoping for. We got the official deep dive war table reveal of Hawkeye this Tuesday, which I didn't watch live because the new Destiny Exotic Quest had just launched. But I've since caught up with it and caught up with the community sentiment, which is, shall we say, not the most optimistic about not necessarily the content, but just sort of the state of the game in general. We saw not all that much we didn't already know. We kind of got the gist of Hawkeye's storyline from about half the Kate Bishop campaign and some other different promotions they've done. We are kind of splitting time between present day future Hawkeye, adapting a My Life as a Weapon comic storyline, and then Future Imperfect storyline in the future with Old Man Hawkeye, who is fighting Maestro, which is mutated insane Hulk after all the other heroes are dead. So the ultimate kind of package here is more or less what we got with Kate Bishop back in December. Hawkeye is technically a new hero. He does have some pretty significant differences from Kate. He's got a lot of different arrow types. His traversal is different. He doesn't have like teleporting quantum moves like she does. And yet he's still fundamentally another archer. So it's certainly a decision to have your first two characters you debut be not clones exactly, but they're both purple archers. I mean, and it's going to be a little bit hard to be excited about that, even if Hawkeye is more of a name than Kate Bishop. The new addition that is happening is a new biome, which is this post-apocalyptic wasteland future. The good news is like it's a new area to explore. The bad news is that it's not really coming with any new enemy types. It's just kind of like post-apocalyptic aim robots, and they even showed, I think, like a Taskmaster fight in this storyline. Like again, we'll have a Maestro fight. Everyone's hoping it's not just kind of like a reskin version of Hulk and his moves, and it's going to be more interesting than that. Maestro's a cool comic villain and stuff, but the whole package just seems very similar to what we got with Kate Bishop, and Kate Bishop was good. It was a good package. I really enjoyed Kate as a character. I enjoyed the missions. They did a lot of voice work for it. They put a lot of work into it, but it didn't really spark a lot of interest in the game. Like there was a surge for a couple of days in the player count afterwards, and then you just, you could beat the 5 missions, and then you could either choose to grind Kate to 150 in terms of her power and her gear, or you could just set the game down and go back to doing nothing, because this is a live service game, but it's not very live servicey. There's not like seasonal content and new things that are popping up every week. Once upon a time, it seemed like that it might be that. Like we had, Tachyon Rifts, and they're like, okay, like AIM cloning labs are going to show up and be an endgame thing, but the longer time goes on, the less we're seeing. Like AIM cloning labs were talked about in like October, and now they're not even mentioning them at all here in February. The original plan seemed like it was supposed to be, we were going to get 3 characters before even the new year. We were going to get Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, and Black Panther. And while Black Panther has been teased a few times now with his helmet and his symbol and stuff, and he's still not been announced. And I think one thing, I wrote an article about this, but like one thing that did not happen with the Hawkeye reveal is any talk about any of their future plans past Hawkeye, leading people to speculate, are there plans past Hawkeye? Like, is the game doing too poorly for them to continue on their original path, where it was going to be years of content and like a dozen heroes and all this stuff? We are way off the current timeline. One of the other issues was I think they announced this war table maybe 3 weeks ago, and then people are like, okay, well, if it's they didn't give that much notice about the Kate Bishop war table, so maybe he's about to launch imminently. It turns out his release date is like a month from now. It's like March 17th or 18th or something. So it is still a full month away. And he'll arrive with the next gen update, which they really didn't talk about at all, just that it exists. So people have to wait another month for that. So it's pretty much 3 months between heroes. And you could say, okay, well, I mean, quarterly expansions, that's like a live service thing. True, but like again, a lot of these other live service games have stuff to do in between, and Avengers does not have that. They just have you rerunning essentially old content over and over again. And stuff like Kate Bishop arrived, and we didn't even get a heroic boss battle or Omega Threat boss battle version of her Super Adaptoid like when she launched. And we don't really have any endgame content other than the endgame content we've been doing since pretty much launch. And it's just, I don't know how fun the gear grind alone is to get to 150 and make these kind of perfected endgame builds for endgame content that does not exist and is not really even being talked about. I do not know why they're not talking about a future Black Panther expansion at all when data mining has shown that Wakanda could be, a really cool new zone, that God of War's Christopher Judge is supposed to be joining the cast to voice T'Challa, and it's not mentioned, it's not teased, it's not anything. There's no roadmap. There's no roadmap without dates. The roadmap is literally the data mining plus like the hopes and dreams of fans that this is still going to continue. I have to believe that they're contractually obligated to produce a Spider-Man hero for PlayStation because that was a big, announced thing before launch, and that probably sold at least a few copies. So it stands to reason they have to do that, but no one really knows if the long-term plans for Avengers are going to pan out at all at this point. And there's no real indication or reassurance that is going to happen. I read somewhere one of the developers was talking about how most of the team was working on next-gen launch in the Clint content. And then there was a smaller team working on stuff to come after that, smaller team working on live service stuff. But like you would think they would need the biggest team working on something like Black Panther and a big Wakanda expansion or edition, not having the biggest team be working on the Clint stuff that's about to come out imminently. That's not really how most of these games work. Like you usually have the bulk of your team working on a larger expansion down the line. So if now Clint is done and they have to shift up that whole team, when is Black Panther going to get here? Like summer? Like next fall? Like we don't even know if he's going to exist at all at this point because they were teasing him in like, I think September or October. And they said, okay, Chadwick Boseman passed away. We don't want to do anything now. But like that was 5-6 months ago, and they haven't said a word about that since, and people just have no sense of scope about the long-term plans of this game. And the Anthem comparisons just keep adding up. I maintain the bit of content they did produce, the Kate Bishop stuff, was very good. Was it good enough to respark interest in the game overall? No. it wasn't enough to do that, even if by itself it was perfectly good. And nor do I think just a Kate Bishop size update every 3 months is going to essentially do anything for this game and its long-term prospects. Like it's clearly not a model people are really connecting with. And I feel like unless you go super big, like if you do some massive fall expansion, like a full Wakanda expansion, like $40, they've already promised everything's free, but like $40 expansion with, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, War Machine, and like Spider-Man for PlayStation, like as like a big launch, and like, okay, this is like the big relaunch of Avengers. That is the only thing I could potentially see kind of revitalizing interest in the game. But these, doing 5 or 6 missions with one character every 3 or 4 months, like that's not going to go anywhere in the long term. And I don't know how much more Square Enix is going to want to task Crystal Dynamics with working on this, and they might want them to just move on to a new project. Crystal Dynamics is very talented, so they're a valuable resource. So is it the best use of their time and money to continue working on a game that is just probably never going to attract the kind of audience it was supposed to have? Probably not. And then there's the question of if Marvel's involved in all this, like if they see the game is doing poorly, are they going to like be like, all right, no more of this, like deals off, whatever. I don't know how that works, but things do not seem to be great right now. I'm sure that in a month, the next gen update will feel good. I will probably enjoy the Clint missions. I'm sure Clint will be fun. All of the characters they design are fun to play. I don't know if he will feel like super, super different than Kate Bishop. I would much rather be looking forward to playing Captain Marvel or Black Panther or Scarlet Witch or someone entirely new that isn't unlike any of the other characters we've experienced. That's what Kate felt like. Kate felt completely new and was a great hero. But Hawkeye, even if he has modified moves and stuff, I don't know if that's going to hit quite as well. And a new biome doesn't mean very much when you don't have new enemies, which we don't apparently have outside of Meister himself. So I'm just not feeling very optimistic right now. I share the community sentiment that things are not really moving in the right direction. Whatever their initial plan was just did not go well at all. Part of that was outside of their control with COVID and wildfires and stuff. But as we've seen other studios adapt to that and continue to, maybe have delays, but shorter delays, and still produce content and still kind of move the right direction. I just don't know what the recovery period is going to be here and what the long-term plan is, if there even still is a long-term plan. So I would love to give, Avengers a year, 2 years to like really flesh itself out and add a bunch of new stuff and become this, transform package. But in the business world, I don't know if the appetite is there to devote that much more time to a franchise that is, registering under 500 players a day on Steam, and who knows what the console numbers are. But like, how much is it worth to keep devoting to that if you have no plan for like some giant reinvigoration of the game? And I don't see that in the cards yet, because they haven't announced anything like that. And the Hawkeye content is not that. It might be good, but it is not going to be something that results in some massive surge of the interest in the game, because it's a mirror image of the Kate Bishop content, which also did not result in a massive surge of interest. So they're kind of between a rock and a hard place. I'm certainly going to play the new content and keep up on all the news, but it's not looking great, which is unfortunate because there are so many core things about Avengers I really like, but we'll see. And now in a week, I will move on to Outriders and start talking about that as the new potential loot thing that's going to be hopefully good, even if it's not live service, but we'll see. But that's all my thoughts on the recent reveal for now. And I don't know when the next Avengers video will be. Probably not until Hawkeye comes out, unless there's some other major announcement before then. But I will see you then.